how we play this game. So, Frisbee or Ultimate is a 7 A-side team sport played with a flying disc. It is played on a rectangle field about half the width of a football field, with an end zone at each end. The objective of each team is to score a goal by having a player catch a pass in the end zone that they are attacking. A thrower may not run with the disc, but may pass the disc in any direction to any teammate. So, ganun po nilalaro ang Frisbee. So, karaniwan, ang Frisbee ay mayroong 7 members na maglalaro inside the court. So, ang court nila ay approximate half of the football field. And, ang mechanics ng game is throwing and or passing and catching the disc. So, ganun po yon. Kung sino po yung makaka-goal doon is consider as makakapuntos. So, let's proceed to the rule of the game. So, we are going to talk about the spirit of the game. What is the spirit of the game? At uno bang napapaloob sa spirit of the game? Ultimate is a non-contact, self-officiated sport. Okay, from the word itself, not like with the other sport like basketball, because Frisbee is non-contact game and self-officiated sport. So, napakadali lang na laro, or kahit sino pwedeng laruin ito, pero nandun yung tinatawag nating discipline or sportsmanship na tinatawag, parang ganun. All players are responsible for administering and adhering to the rules. Gaya ng sabi ko kanina, Ultimate relies upon a spirit of the game that places the responsibility for fair. Yun yung sabi ko kanina. Pwedeng maglarong lahat, but we have to consider the fairness. Kung talo ka, talo ka. Kung panalo ka, let's celebrate it. Ganun lang yun. Play on every player. Yun po ang spirit of the game. So let's proceed. So, players should be mindful of the fact that they are acting as referees in any arbitration between teams. Okay. Players must, okay, take note of this. Know the rules. Okay. Kung naglalaro ka ng Frisbee, dapat alamin mo kung ano ang rules nito. Be fair-minded and objective. Be truthful. Okay. Explain their viewpoint clear and briefly. Allow opponent a reasonable chance to speak. Okay. Everyone should have a right or may pagkakataon na i-speak out kung ano yung side nila. So, ganun naman talaga dapat. Para maiwasan natin ang kahit na anong anomalya or kahit na anong away is mas mabuting pag-usapan ang lahat. Ganun po dapat sa mga laro. Consider the opponent's viewpoint. Okay. Use respectful words and body language with consideration of potential culture differences. Resolve dispute as quickly as possible. Make calls in consistent manner throughout the game. And only make a call where a breach is significant enough to make a difference to the outcome of the action. Yun po ang dapat makonsider ng mga players kapag naglalaro sila ng larong ito, which is ang Frisbee. So let's proceed. So, the following action is an example of good spirit. Okay, what are those? Okay, the example of good spirit is retracting a call when you no longer believe that calls was correct. Checking in with an opponent of the sideline after a contentious interaction. Complimenting an opponent for good play of spirit. Okay, yon. Kapag natalo ka or kapag nanalo ka, you should compliment. Kahit talo pa yung kalaban mo, you should compliment your opponent. Para sa ganun is maramdaman natin yung spirit of sportsmanship and camaraderie. Okay. Introducing yourself of your opponent and reacting calmly toward disagreement of provocation. Yun naman ang dapat. Kahit na anong mangyari is huwag natin hayaan na ang galit ang mas manaig kesa sa ating relaxation. Let them or let us speak about it. At huwag tayong mag-away dahil lang doon. Okay. The following action are clearly violations of the spirit of the game and must be avoided. Okay, ito yung mga dapat nating iwasan kapag naglalaro tayo ng Frisbee. Dangerous play and aggressive behavior. Okay. Intentional fouling or other intentional rule breaches. Taunting or intimidating opposing players. Okay. Dapat wag ganun. Kasi minsan nakaka-distract at nakakapag-high talaga ng galit natin kapag gina-intimidate natin tayo ng ating kasama. So, tayo naman is intimidated masyado. So, lalabanan talaga natin yung kasi hindi tayo magpapatalo. So, in order to avoid that and any kind of away is dapat pag-usapan na lang talagang maayos. So, ganun po yun. So, celebrating disrespectful after scoring. Okay, hindi yun maganda. Dapat celebrate as good and positivity after the play. Either you are win or lose, you should accept the result of that game. Ganun naman talaga dapat. So next is making calls in relation to an opponent or calling for pass an opposing player and other win at all cost behavior. So yun po mga dapat natin iwasan kapag tayo ay naglalaro dito is para magkaroon ng clear or maayos na end ng paglalaro. So we proceed. Okay. Teams are guardians of the spirit of the game and they must take responsibility for teaching their players the rules and good spirit. Okay. Discipline teammates who display poor spirit. Okay. Kung ikaw, pag may kasama ka at hindi niya yung ma-apply sa sarili niya yung pagkakaroon ng good spirit, you should introduce the good spirit to your teammate. Ganoon naman talaga dapat kapag nalalaro tayo. So next is provide constructive feedback to the other team about what they are doing well and or how to improve their adherence to the spirit of the game. So next, call a spirit stoppage to address spirit issues as appropriate. Okay. An experienced player who offer advice on rules and guides on field arbitration may supervise games involving beginners or younger players. Okay. Calls should be discussed by the players directly involved in the play and by players who had the best perspective on the play. So, let's proceed. Okay. The playing field. Kung makikita natin sa screen na ito, is nakikita natin yung rectangular shape ng kung saan ang shape or ang playing field ng Frisbee loading. So, the length of this field is approximately 64 meters and have width with 37 meters and each end zone have 23 meters. So the dot that you can see on between of the end zone is the brick mark. So yan po ang playing field ng Frisbee. So let's proceed. So the equipment, what are the needed to play or to play the Frisbee? So any flying disc acceptable to both captains may be used. Okay. Kahit ano or basta yung mga appropriate lang or acceptable at pwede talaga gamitin sa Frisbee. So DFBF may maintain a list of approved discs recommended for use. Meron naman pala talagang validation or kailangan recommended na gagamitin na disc. Siyempre kung hindi naman pwede yung plato, so you have to use the recommended for that game. So each player must wear a uniform that distinguishes their team. Okay. So dapat ang mga players is mag-wear. Halimbawa, kung naka-black ang isang team and another team is white, so they have to wear that so that they can easily identify of what they or where are the team that they belong. So, no player may wear items for clothing or equipment that reasonable could harm the wearer of other players or impede an opponent's ability to play. Okay, parang yung kasuotan na nade-distract, like yung may mga wear tayo na parang napaka-attractive and parang yung neon color is nakaka-distract yan ng ating mga sa ating mata or impossible sa ating mga kalaban. So we should or hindi natin dapat yon sinusuot. So let's proceed. So now we are talking about the points, goals, and games. So ano ba mga ito? A game consists of a number of points, each end with the scoring of a goal. Okay, a game is finished and won by the first team to score 15 goals. So ganun yon. Kapag ang unang team makakakuha ng 15 goals should win the first or ang mananalo or makaka-finish ng game. So, a game is separated into 2 periods of play called halves. Half team occurs when a team first, okay, scores 8 goals. Okay, yun. Like with the other plays or games, ganun pa rin yun. Kapag naka-half ka na ng yung full talaga ginakuha ninyo is parang sa iba is change court o ang ganito is another period na naman. So the first point of each half starts when the half starts. So after a goal is scored and the game has not been won or half time has not been reached, the next point starts immediately. The teams switch the end zone that they are defending end. The team that scored becomes defense and pulls next. So, yun. So, next, we are talking about the teams. Each team will put a maximum of 7. Ganun sabi ko kanina sa introduction of this game is each team should have a maximum of 7 players and a minimum of 5 players on the field during the game. Oh, yun. Each point. Okay. Each team must designated a captain and a separate captain to represent the team. Yun naman dapat. A captain should yung magre-represent sa kanilang team or siya yung tatayong leader nila doon sa team. Okay, yun yung role ng ating captain. Okay, a team may take or make unlimited substitution after a goal is scored and before their team signals readiness for the pool. Okay. We proceed. Okay, starting a game. Okay. Representatives of 2 teams fairly determine which team first chooses either. Okay. Whether to receive or throw an initial pool. Okay, yun. Sa pag-start ng lang game is either they are parang may choices sila or mayroon silang gagawin mga or yung para officially may start ang game is either ang 2 teams or ang team captain will decided to receive or to pull. Okay. Which end zone they will initially defend or kung ano ba ang end zone ang initially na i-defend nila kung saan mas lang parang ganun. Okay, the other team is given the remaining choice. Okay, the start of the second half, this initial selection are switched. Okay. Yan. The pool. At the start of the game, after halftime of time or after a score, play commence with a throw by the defense. Okay, called a pull. Yun yung tawag natin doon sa defense is pull. Team must prepare for the pull without unreasonable delay. The pull may be made only after both teams have signaled their readiness by having the puller and a player on offenser raise a hand above their head. So after signaling readiness, all offensive players must stand with one foot on the defending goal line without changing location relative to one another until the pull is released. So after signaling readiness, all defensive players must keep their feet entirely behind the vertical plane of the goal line until the pull is released. So we proceed. State of play. What is this state of play? Play is dead and no turnover is possible after the start of a point until the pull is released, when the disc must be carried to the pivot location after the pull or a turnover until a pivot. Okay, point is established. After a call which stops the play or any other stoppage until the disc is checked in, or after a disc hits the ground until possession is established by the appropriate team. Players are allowed to move during dead play or unless specified otherwise. Okay, proceed. Stall counts. Okay, now the stall counts. The marker administers stall counts on the thrower by announcing stalling and then counting from 1 to 10. The interval between the start of each number in the stall counts must be at least 1 second. Okay. The stall count must be communicated to the thrower. Okay, dapat yung stall count is dapat naririnig talaga nung player in order para maano niya yung kung kailan siya talaga or kailan talaga siya mag-throw. Okay. The marker may only start and continue a stall count when play is live. Okay, yun. Or until a pivot is established after a turnover point. Okay, or the pivot location if the thrower is not at that location. And all defenders are legally possession. That is in section 18.1. Okay? Okay, we will going back that after our further discussion. Now, we are here on the check. Okay. Whenever play stop during a point for a foul or violation of contested turnover, specified turnover, contested goal, stoppage, discussion, or the completion of a timeout, play must start as quickly as possible when a check. The check may only be delayed for the discussion for call. Yan po yung check. Yan yung mga gina-turnover ng check is when kung mayroong mga nag-stop sila kung mayroong mga foul, violation, contested turnover, or etc. Kung something na may mga inaayos. So, ganun yun. Yun yung the check. So, next is out of bounds. What is this out of bounds? Okay, the entire playing field is in bounds. The perimeter lines are not part of the playing field and are out of bounds. All non-players are part of out of bounds area. Okay, the out of bounds area consists of the ground which is not in bounds and everything is contact with it. Okay, except for defensive players who are always considered in bounds. Okay, yun lang yun. Kapag ang exception lang ng outbounds is ang players na considered nilang nasa inbounds. So, yun po. Receivers and positioning. Okay, how is this receivers and positioning? A catch occurs when a player has a non-spinning disc trapped between at least two body parts. A catch can enable players to establish possession of the disc. If the player fails to maintain the catch due to subsequent ground contact related to the catch or contact related to the catch with a teammate or a legitimately positioned opposition player, possession is deemed to have not occurred. So, yun po yung receiver's positioning. So, next is the turnover. A turnover that transfer possession of the disc from one team or to the other occurs when the disc contact the ground while it not in the possession of the offensive player or a down. Yun siya. However, it is not down if a receiver catches a pass before the disc contact the ground and maintains the catch while the disc is in contact with the ground. So, we proceed to scoring. Paano ba sila nag-scoring or how they receive a score. So, a goal is scored if an inbound player catches a legal pass and all their grounds contact are entirely within their attacking end zone, or for an airborne player. So yun po, makaka-score ganun po sila nag-scoring or paano nakakaroon ng scoring sa Frisbee. All of their first simultaneous points of grounds contact after catching the disc are entirely within their attacking end zone and they subsequently establish possession of the disc and maintain the catch throughout all grounds. Okay, contact related to the catch. Note, 12, 1, 12, 1, and 1. So, yun po yung scoring. So, next, calling fouls, infractions, and violations. So, ito na, how we are going to avoid those calling of fouls or violations. So, ito yung dapat nating mga i-consider ng mga bagay para hindi tayo matawagan ng fouls and violations. So, okay, a breach of the rules due to non-minor contact between two or more opposing players is a foul. So, yun. So, a player intentionally initiating minor contact is still a breach of the rules. So, yung players, kahit yung minor lang na pagkakaroon ng contact is still a breach of the rules. It is to be treated as a violation and not a foul. Okay. Breach of the rules regarding a marking or travel breach is an infraction. Infractions do not stop play. Okay. Every other breach of the rules is a violation. Okay. Only the player fouled may claim a foul by calling foul. Okay. In general, only the thrower may claim in infraction by calling a specific name of the infraction. Okay. However, any offensive player may call a double team and any defensive player may call a travel infraction. So, yun yung infraction and violation and a calling of fouls. So, we proceed to continuation after a call. Okay. Now, whenever a foul or violation call is made, or a player attempt to stop play in any way, play stops and immediately and no turnover is possible unless situation is specified in 15.9. Okay. In a foul or violation is called against or thrower and the thrower attempts a pass or is called by the thrower during the act of throwing, or is called or occurs when the disc is in the air, and then play continues until possession has been established. Okay. Then, once a possession has been established, ulit lang. So, okay, now we proceed to fouls. Okay, what are those fouls? Okay. Tatawagan ka ng fouls if there is dangerous plays. Okay. Play talaga. Kung mayroong danger na play or yan ay hindi na ligtas para sa larong yan is you will be calling as a foul. Okay. Action demonstrating reckless disregard for the safety to fellow players or posing significant. Okay, yun yung sabi ko kanina. Kapag nag-act ka na ng hindi kaaya-aya at hindi na safe sa yung mga kasamahang players, is tatawagan ka talaga ng fouls. Okay. Next is risk of injury to fellow players. Gaya ng mga yan. Okay, or other dangerously aggressive behaviors are considered. Okay, dangerous play and must be treated as a foul. Okay, regardless of whether or when contact occurs. This rule is not superseded by any other foul rule if the dangerous play call is accepted. This, okay, must be treated as the most relevant foul from section 17. Okay, yun po yun. Lahat ng hindi kaya or something na magkakaroon ng distraction or any dangerous or magkakaroon ng injury ang yung mga co-players or even you as a player, you should the players would be calling as a foul. So we proceed. Okay, what are those, or ano ba yung mga branches of that fouls? Okay, we have the receiving fouls, strip fouls, blocking fouls, and force out fouls. Okay, what is this receiving fouls? A receiving fouls occur when a player initiates minor contact with an opponent before, while, or directly after either player make a play on the desk. Yun po yung receiving foul. Okay, strip fouls. A strip foul occurs when an opponent foul a player and that causes a player to drop a desk. Okay, yun kapag ang isang player is nagkaroon ng action na pwedeng mahulog yung desk, is tatawagan ka ng strip fouls, or ang tawag doon ng strip fouls. Okay, or the blocking fouls. Blocking fouls occurs when a player takes a position that an opponent moving in a legal manner will be unable to avoid, or taking into account the opponent's expected position based on their established speed and direction and minor contact results. Okay, yun. Force out fouls. Okay, yun yung ibang mga fouls. Okay, we have also defensive throwing fouls, indirect fouls, offsetting fouls. Yan po yung mga fouls natin. So now we proceed to safety stoppage. What are these safety stoppage? Magkakaroon ng safety stoppage if this is happen. Injury stoppage. Kapag nagkaroon ng injury ang any of the player. Or an injury stoppage or injury may be called by the injured player or by any player on the injured player's team. Okay. If the injury was not caused by an opponent, the player must choose either to be substituted. Okay, yun. Kapag ang players ina-injure dahil din sa action niya, is magkakaroon ng substitution para ma-substitute siya, kasi para maging maayos naman ang play. Ganun naman talaga. Kasi if the player is not able to play because of the injury, is magsasubstitute na naman siya into their remaining group mates or teammates. Okay, if the injury was ulit lang. Okay, yun po yung stoppage, safety stoppage natin. Now we proceed to timeouts. Okay, but when the timeouts happen, the player calling a timeout must form a T with their hands. T, gaya lang din ng basketball, timeout. Kapag time out, the player will shoot action like this. A T with their hands, or with one hand with a desk. One hand na itataas lang yung kanyang desk. And should call time out to opposition players. Yun po yung ating timeouts.